let's make some Bridesmaids camisoles. Okay, so we're making the Ogden cami for the 3 bridesmaids. They are all going to be labelled, one so that they can tell the back, and 2 so they can tell them apart, because although we've got 2 different sizes with the 11-year-olds and the 17-year-old, they do look exactly the same in different sizes. The camisole pattern is the same, so they're going to be identical. And the reason that I'm doing camisoles, I could have just done a camisole and skirt, and that would have looked fine, but I particularly wanted a lace top, and the original thought had been to line it with the satin, but because I want them to be able to reuse things like the lace tops with jeans and things, I felt it'd be more practical to keep it separate so they can just change out the vest underneath to a different colour, give it a whole different look. And because I can't do fittings as they live in Bulgaria, they can tuck the camisole into their skirts, and if they've grown since they were last measured, or if I haven't quite measured the lace tops right, they won't have a gap of flesh showing between the lace top and the skirt on the day, which I know they'll be happy about. So let's take a look at how we're going to make these camisoles. Okay, so these skirts are just hanging out in the background there, and they're going to be there for a while. You'll have probably, hopefully, I think I'm going to put this skirt video up first, so you've probably seen them finished by now. So we're moving on to the tops whilst the bias is dropping. We'll start with the lining layer, which is going to be the Ogden cami, which is true bias. Yeah, true bias. I've already got it all cut out. I'm ready to go, and I am using a satin. It's a liquid satin. This is the wrong side. For this, for the 17-year-old, I've traced out the pattern in her size. For the 11-year-olds, and they are both having the same size. They are very slightly different in size, but it's the hem length that is most noticeable in these outfits. So they're getting the exact same size for the camisole. I haven't shortened anything because I'm not 100% certain of their full height or where it would need to be shortened to. They're going to be wearing these with the skirts over the top, so if they need to get them hemmed and shortened later, they can do. That's fine. So I've got everything cut out, and I'm going to make a start sewing things up. Okay, so we've got the stay stitching done on the neckline and armholes, front and back, exterior and lining, and we've got the straps made. These ones are still pinned down from where they were pressed. So the next step is to get the straps attached to the fronts at the shoulder point, and then attach the fronts to the backs. That's the exterior fronts to the exterior backs. So we're going to get on with that and take a look when that is ready for the next stage. Okay, so that's all 3 outers in one piece. So we now need to put the front and back of the lining together, ready to insert them into the outer. So I used French seams for the outers. I'm not going to worry about that too much for the lining, because the seam is going to be enclosed within the lining. This fabric does fray quite a lot though, so the French seams were a good choice for the side seams. And so the rest of the seams are a single pass seam, so that's much easier. What I am going to do though is on each of the front pieces of the lining, I'm just going to pin on a little label that says front. I'm going to pin it into where the hem I'm going to pin it up into the seam allowance up here. So I'm going to need to hem them. The fronts and the backs are pretty much the same. So I want to make sure that I can
distinguish between the front and the back. I am going to put little name labels in the back of the lining, but I haven't got to that point just yet. So as I'm detaching these pieces from their pattern pieces, labelling is the way to go. Okay, so to finish the seams on the lining, I've just pressed them open and pinked them. I'm not a massive fan of pinking shears, but they are an appropriate finishing method for this purpose. So yeah, so we're going with it. I just don't, if it was a visible seam, I wouldn't use the pinking shears. I don't think it looks particularly attractive as a seam finish. And also pinking shears can sometimes be a little bit finicky. But yeah, like I said, for the purposes of this seam, it's an appropriate finish, and it's relatively quick. So when you're making multiple items, sometimes you need to go with practicality and logistics. I have found I need to repress the seam open once I finish pinking. Okay, so the next step is to hem the lining, and then we can insert it into the outer. After that, just hemming the bottom of the top. So I'm just trying to find the gap in the ironing board, so I'm putting a pin in to hold this in place. And I may not, don't line this up very well. Hang on. The underneath of my ironing board has holes in it to allow the steam through, which is kind of useful for pinning things to it, but you have to sort of get it lined up in the right place. So yes, I'm going to hem these lining pieces and then attach a label to the back, so that it's easier for the girls to tell which way around they go on. Then we'll get the lining into the outer and hem the outer. So not much left to do. Okay, so the lining pieces are all done. This is the front, and so they're hemmed, they're labelled. They just now need inserting into the body of the camisole. So yeah, let's get on with that. Okay, so we're very nearly done with the Ogden camis. So they just need hemming and then loose threads dealing with. The trouble with this fabric is it doesn't take a press particularly well, so the necklines aren't quite as crisp as I would like, but that's fine. If it annoys me too much, I'd just put liners top stitching in later. But for now, we're going to leave it as is. So let's get hemming and finish these off. Then we need to work out what steamer we're going to invest in to get the creases out, because like I say, they don't press particularly well. I think hand steamer is going to be a good plan for the skirts as well, and to have on hand for the groom suit and for my dress as well. I mean, the seamstress will have steamed my dress before I get it back from her, doing the adjustments, but handy to have these things on hand anyway. So yeah, let's get to it, hemming. And there we have a finished Ogden cami, barring the steaming to get the creases out. So yeah, so this is going to be under. Oh, I've missed a loose thread. Oh, there, no, it's not attached. It's fine. So this is going to be underneath a lace top. So that's the next step.
So thank you for spending time with me today. I'll see you in the next video, which will be making the lace tops for the 11-year-olds, and that'll be an interesting one. We're using a bodice pattern from a dress. So there's a few adjustments to make to turn it into the style of top that I want, and to avoid putting a zip in, because I thought that might be a bit tricky in lace. So yes, we'll see you then. In the meantime, there's this video here that may be of interest to you, and I will see you soon. But until then, happy crafting and bye-bye for now.